I got my brother a job in my company to help him rebuild his life. 2 months later, he leaked my private files and tried to frame me. So I reminded him who the boss really is. Hi, my name's Celine, 32. If you told me 2 years ago that my own brother would try to ruin me, personally, professionally, and very nearly legally, I wouldn't have called you crazy. But I might have laughed. Not because I didn't believe it, but because with Tyrell, betrayal wasn't some shocking twist. It was his comfort zone. Still, I did what big sisters do. I helped. Tyrell had always been one of those charming messes. The kind of guy who could borrow your car, wreck it, and somehow make you feel bad for not filling the tank first. Our parents, especially Mom, treated him like he was made of glass. Meanwhile, I was the one expected to be the glass see-through, tough, and there only to hold things together. For years, I stayed out of his orbit. Different cities, different lives. I built my career from the ground up. Started as an intern in a tech firm where they made me do coffee runs and log bug reports like I was the company punching bag. But I climbed. And when I finally launched my own software consultancy, it was the proudest moment of my life. No shortcuts. No favors. Just grit, late nights, and years of biting my tongue in boardrooms. Tyrell, meanwhile, was on what he called a sabbatical. That sabbatical lasted 4 years, involved a suspicious number of festivals, and was occasionally interrupted by half-hearted gigs. He quit the second someone asked him to show up before noon. I should have known better than to offer him a lifeline. But when he showed up at my door, skinny, shaken, and with that same old smirk barely hiding the panic, I let him in. I need a break, he said, collapsing onto my couch. Just something steady. Somewhere to start over. Please, Celine. He'd been couch surfing for months. Got fired from his last job for personality clashes. Translation. He told the manager to go screw himself over a scheduling conflict. Our parents had finally stopped wiring him money after his third missed rent payment in 6 months. And yet, when he looked at me with those tired eyes, I believed him. Maybe he did want to change. Maybe I could help him find something stable, teach him what it meant to be responsible. So I got him a job at my company. It wasn't glamorous. Junior IT admin, mostly just ticketing support, organizing cloud storage, occasionally resetting passwords for engineers who still thought 12345 was an acceptable PIN. I gave him a 3-month trial contract, explained the expectations, and even had HR loop in to keep things official. I thought I was being smart. First he was okay, showed up on time, dressed decent. He even made a few jokes in Slack that actually got upvotes. My team liked him. He was charming as always. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe this could work. I should have listened to my gut the morning I walked into the office and found the door to the server room ajar. Tyrell had access. Of course he did. He needed it to do his job. But something was off. A subtle shift in the room. The kind you don't see so much as feel. One of the locked file drawers had a paperclip jammed into the lock. I dismissed it as someone being careless. 2 weeks later, a client's confidential project files leaked online. At first, no one could trace the breach. It looked like a phishing attack. Our logs were clean, or so we thought. Until one of my engineers, Grace, flagged something strange in our metadata logs. A late-night login from Tyrell's account, accessing folders he had no reason to be in. I confronted him after work. Quietly. No audience. Just me, him, and the faint buzz of fluorescent lights in the empty office. You opened client files you weren't cleared for, I said, my voice low, even. He shrugged. I was just curious. Wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I stared at him. Tyrell, this is serious. Those files weren't just confidential, they were under NDA. If a client sues, this could sink the whole company. He had the audacity to smirk. Relax, Celine. No one's suing. It's not like I leaked anything. But I could already see it in his eyes. He had. He was just waiting to see if I'd catch him. And then the kicker. 2 days later, an anonymous email was sent to our board and legal team, with edited screenshots, doctored metadata logs, and a fabricated story pinning the entire breach on me. Celine authorized the access, the email claimed. She shared the files herself and tried to cover it up. Here are the logs. Only I knew those logs had been tampered with. Only one person had both the motive and the technical access to do that kind of editing. Tyrell. He'd set me up. And what he didn't realize, what he never saw coming, was that I was already 3 steps ahead. But I'll get to that. He tried to frame me. Let's just get that part clear. Not a misunderstanding. Not a mislick. Tyrell, my own brother, leaked private client files, then faked evidence to make it look like I did it. Send it straight to the board. His timing? Ruthless. One day after a major deal closed, 2 days before my annual leadership review. It worked at first. I walked into the office and every smile vanished like I'd grown horns. Legal pulled me aside. HR asked if I was feeling overwhelmed lately. The board froze my system access until things were reviewed. I didn't even get a warning. Just silence and the slow unraveling of the company I built from scratch. Meanwhile, Tyrell was walking around the office like he just won Employee of the Month, laughing in the break room, asking if anyone needed help cleaning up the mess. I nearly broke my coffee mug just watching him. But here's the thing. 6 months ago, I hired a third-party security firm to install invisible backup monitoring on our servers. Paranoid habit, I guess. Dual logging, file trace pings, packet sniffers. Nothing you'd notice unless you were the one trying to hide something. So while Tyrell was editing fake logs, thinking he was some evil genius, every real move he made was being recorded in triplicate. Kian, my guy at the firm, sent me the evidence before midnight. He's cooked, the message said. Want us to go nuclear? I didn't reply. I just drove to the office early, printed everything and waited. At 9:02 a.m., I walked into the boardroom and tossed a flash drive on the table. Before you vote, I said, watch this. They did. Tyrell logged in at 3:17 a.m. 3 nights in a row. Accessed client files way outside his clearance. Exported them through a spoofed VPN, except the exit node leaked his laptop's MAC address. Same one from onboarding. Game over. The board went dead quiet. One of them just said, do we call the police? No, I said. Not yet. That afternoon, HR called him in. Routine check-in, they said. He swaggered in with a smoothie. 20 minutes later, he walked out with a cardboard box and a face like wet cement. Fired. Effective immediately. Security walked him past me as I pretended to read an email. He didn't say a word. Just stared at me hollow. I thought it was over. I was wrong. The next morning, I got an email. No sender. No subject. Just 5 words. You think this is over? And attached? A folder. Screenshots of my personal files, old journal entries, scanned ID copies, and one photo I knew for a fact had been deleted from my cloud storage years ago. Tyrell had made a copy of my encrypted archives. And now he was holding them hostage. The folder he sent was full of ghosts. Old scanned IDs. Password vault exports. A journal entry I wrote at 22 during a breakdown and never meant to reread, let alone have anyone else see. He even found a blurry selfie I took the night I signed the papers to start my company. Face red from crying, bottle of cheap champagne in the background. And he had it all. I didn't breathe for a full minute. Just stared at the screen while the cold spread up my spine. That photo wasn't stored on any current device. It had been in a cloud archive I encrypted and buried in a backup drive 2 laptops ago. The only way he could have accessed it? He cloned my drive. Months ago. While living under my roof. I should have thrown him out the second he asked to borrow my MacBook for just a minute. I remember the moment now, January. I was making coffee. He said his phone died. Asked if he could check a job application. He installed a damn keylogger. And now, after trying to bury me at work and getting caught, he was threatening to go deeper. Personal? Reputational? Legal, maybe? He didn't care. Tyrell never cared about collateral, just about not losing. I didn't respond to the email. Instead, I opened a secure shell and watched the security team backtrack every move he'd made inside our systems. They found the fingerprint of a cloned backup from 3 months prior. The timestamp matched the morning I came into the office and my laptop fan was spinning like it had run all night. He hadn't just sabotaged me. He'd been planning this for months. I activated a kill protocol I never thought I'd use. Disabled every credential I'd ever issued under my name. Froze access to shared family accounts. Changed my phone number. Rerouted all logins through a 2-key verification system I built myself. From the outside, it looked like paranoia. It was war prep. Then I called my lawyer. The same one who'd helped me draft my company bylaws. The one who knew how I thought, how I documented everything. I forwarded the email and waited. She called within 5 minutes. Celine, she said, we need to go scorched earth. I didn't blink. Do it. That same afternoon, we filed a digital harassment complaint and initiated a cease and desist order. But that was just step 1. I also filed a civil pre-suit notice for damages tied to reputational sabotage and breach of employment contract because, oh yes, I had a clause for that. Tucked in page 12, section 6C. Tyrell wouldn't go to jail for what he did. Not immediately. But I was going to bury him in paperwork before he even realized he was in trouble. The next move was personal. I pulled up my financial dashboard and reviewed every transfer I'd made since he moved in. $2,000 for first month expenses. $500 for job close. $1,450 in loaned credit card charges. I reversed every payment that wasn't too old to contest. Froze the shared debit card I'd given him just in case. Emptied the emergency fund he thought I never checked. Within 2 hours he was locked out of every safety net I had ever built. Then I made one last call. My mother. We hadn't spoken in 6 months, but I figured she deserved a heads up before Tyrell spun his version of events. She answered on the second ring. Celine. Just a heads up, I said. Your son's about to say some wild things about me. He's lying. I'm handling it. A pause. What happened now? I told her everything. The file leak. The attempt to frame me. The data theft. The blackmail. She didn't say a word through most of it. Just breathed. And then finally, with a voice lower than I'd ever heard from her. He always hated that you didn't need him. That was all. Not an apology. Not a defense. Just resignation. I hung up. Not angrily. Just done. 3 days later, a court officer delivered the cease and desist to Tyrell's address. He wasn't home. Signed for by a roommate. But I knew he got the message, because that night at 2:13 a.m. he tried to call. 4 times. I didn't answer. The 5th time he left a voicemail. You think this is funny? You think this makes you the hero? You ruined my life, Celine. You made me nothing. I deleted it without listening to the rest. He made himself nothing. I just finally stopped pretending otherwise. But I should have known, Tyrell wasn't finished yet. Because the next morning I walked into the office and Grace, the engineer who'd found the original breach, was crying in the break room. Tyrell had messaged her. And 5 others. He said I was covering something up. That he had evidence. That I'd manipulated the logs and he was going to prove it. He wasn't coming for me anymore. He was trying to burn the whole place down. And I wasn't about to let him. Tyrell underestimated one thing. Not my resources. Not my lawyers. Me. He thought I'd crumble under the weight of it. Watch my company burn while I tried to put out pure fires and quiet a team growing more anxious by the hour. But I wasn't the girl who used to flinch when he slammed doors or made jokes about how I'd never survive without him. I was the woman who built $1 million firm from a 10-year-old laptop and a folding chair in a shared studio apartment. And I was done being polite. I called a staff-wide emergency meeting. No slides. No corporate speak. Just me, standing in front of my team with a flash drive in one hand and a printed copy of the cease and desist in the other. Let's get one thing straight, I said. You've heard rumors. I'm ending them now. I laid it all out. The data theft, the forged logs, the attempt to frame me. Then I played the voicemail Tyrell left at 2:13 a.m. The one where he said I made him nothing. His voice, bitter and loud, echoed across the room. Nobody blinked. When it ended, I said one sentence. He doesn't speak for us. Ever again. Applause. Not slow, not hesitant. Real. And with that, I turned back to the screen and pulled up something no one expected. An offer letter. With Tyrell's name on it. But it wasn't a job. It was bait. I'd asked our security firm to draft a fake offer from a competing tech startup, with a link to a honeypot server. All he had to do was open the attachment. Curious little snake couldn't help himself. He clicked. The next morning I had his IP, his new alias, and the location of the shared workspace he'd been using under a fake name. My lawyer filed for criminal charges. This time it stuck. Unlawful access to private data. Attempted digital extortion. Violation of corporate NDA. He was arrested 3 days later, quietly, from the back of a coffee shop where he'd been applying for another job under yet another fake name. Someone said he cried. I didn't care. But here's the part no one saw coming. 2 weeks after his arrest, I got a letter. Not a legal one. Handwritten. Torn edges. My name in blocky, uneven letters across the envelope. I opened it expecting a last pathetic apology or maybe another threat. Instead it said, "You were never supposed to be better than me." That was the whole thing. No greeting. No sign-off. No plea. It wasn't guilt. It was envy. The root of everything. He hadn't wanted to beat me. He just wanted me beneath him. And the second I pulled away proved I didn't need him, he had to ruin it. He couldn't stand that I left the cage and flew. I burned the letter. I didn't need it. I went back to work. I rebuilt what he tried to break. 6 months later, we signed our biggest contract to date. I made sure every team member who stayed through the chaos got a bonus. Even Grace. Especially Grace. When I announced it at our quarterly, I paused for a second just to look out at them. Still here. Still building. Still mine.